The Valorian Dominion had conquered 200 star systems. For 10,000 years they had never lost a single war. Their warriors were tall, strong, and fast. Their ships were the most powerful in the galaxy. Every species they met either surrendered or died. There was no third option. High Commander. Relos stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the small blue planet on the screen. Earth, the humans called it. Earth. He had studied their radio signals for months. They were a young species. They had only left their planet a few times. They fought wars against each other. They were divided into many nations. They were weak. "This will be easy," Relos said to his officers. "We will add another world to our empire before the next cycle." War Marshal Keth stepped forward. He was the most decorated warrior in the Dominion. He had fought in 47 wars and won them all. His body was covered in scars, and each scar was a mark of honor. He had never retreated. He had never failed. "Give me 500 of our best warriors," Keth said. "I will bring you this planet in 10 days. Relo smiled. "Take the Crimson Guard. They are our strongest. Not one of them has ever known defeat." Keth bowed his head. "It will be done." The Crimson Guard assembled on the transport ships. 500 warriors, each one a legend. They had crushed rebellions on a dozen worlds. They had killed millions. They wore red armor made from the strongest metal in the galaxy. Their weapons could cut through stone and steel. They were not afraid of anything because they had never met anything that could hurt them. The fleet entered the human solar system 3 days later. They passed the outer planets without stopping. They ignored the small robots the humans had sent to explore. These machines were primitive. The humans were primitive. This would not take long. On Earth, Captain Park Gina was the first to see them coming. She commanded the orbital defense station above the Pacific Ocean. It was one of 12 stations that protected the planet. She had served in the military for 15 years. She had trained for this moment her whole life, but she had hoped it would never come. "Unknown vessels approaching," her sensor officer reported. 17 ships. "They are big, very big." Gina looked at the screen. The ships were black and shaped like blades. They moved in perfect formation. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Open a channel," she said. "All frequencies." She spoke into the microphone. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Park Gina of Earth Defense Command. We welcome you to our solar system. We wish to establish peaceful contact. Please respond." There was silence for a long moment. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was cold and hard. "Humans, we are the Valorian Dominion. We have claimed your planet for our empire. You will surrender immediately. All resistance will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond." The channel closed. Gina felt her heart beating fast, but she kept her face calm. She contacted Earth Command and spoke to the leaders of every nation. They talked for 30 minutes. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to negotiate. But in the end, they all agreed on one thing. They would not give up their home without a fight. Gina opened the channel again. "Valorian fleet, this is Earth. We reject your demand. We will defend our planet. We ask you one more time to negotiate peacefully." War Marshal Kef answered personally. "You are fools. We have conquered 200 worlds. We have never lost. Your species is young and weak. You do not know what you are facing." "Maybe," Gina said. "But you do not know what you are facing either." Keth laughed. "Prepare to die, human." The channel closed again. Lieutenant Kim Taiho stood beside Gina. He was her tactical officer and her best friend. They had trained together for 10 years. He was calm and smart, and he always found a way to win. "They are confident," Taiho said. "Too confident. That is a weakness." Gina nodded. "They think we will fight like the other species they have conquered? We will not." She activated the global defense network. 12 orbital stations powered up their weapons. Satellites moved into position. On the ground, armies prepared for invasion. In the oceans, submarines armed their missiles. The whole planet became a fortress. Dr. Lee Yuna contacted Gina from her lab on the moon. She was the chief science officer and the smartest person Gina knew. She had been studying the Valorian signals since they arrived. "I have learned something important," Yuna said. "They always fight the same way. They attack directly and use overwhelming force. They do not use tricks or traps. They think that is dishonorable." Gina smiled for the first time. "Then we will be very dishonorable." On the Valorian flagship, Keth prepared his warriors. They loaded into drop pods. They checked their weapons. They sang their war songs. They were excited. They loved battle. They loved victory. "Remember," Keth told them, "these humans are primitive. They have only been in space for a short time. They will break easily. Show them no mercy. Take their planet quickly so we can move on to more worthy enemies." The warriors cheered. The pods launched. 500 of the strongest warriors in the galaxy fell toward Earth like red meteors. They aimed for the orbital stations first. They would destroy the human defenses and then land on the planet below. It would be simple. It would be fast. It always was. Gina watched them coming. Red dots on her screen. 500 of them. Her station had 50 defenders. The other stations had similar numbers. They were badly outnumbered. "All stations," she said into the com. "This is Captain Park Gina. They think we are weak. They think we will fall easily. They are wrong. We fight for our home. We fight for our families. We fight for Earth. Make them remember this day. Make them remember us." She took a deep breath. "All stations weapons free. Let them come." The first war between humans and the Valorian Dominion had begun. The Valorians expected it to last 10 days. They expected an easy victory. They expected to add another conquered world to their empire. They were wrong about all of it. The drop pods hit the orbital stations like a storm of fire. The Valorian warriors broke through the outer walls and rushed inside. They expected the humans to meet them in direct combat. They expected lines of soldiers standing in formation, ready to fight and die with honor. That was how every other species had fought them, but the corridors were empty. War. Marshal Keth led the assault on Station 7, where Captain Park Gina commanded. He moved through the dark hallways with his warriors behind him. Their red armor glowed in the emergency lights. Their weapons were ready, but there was no one to fight. "Where are they?" one of his warriors asked. "Hiding," Keth said with disgust. "Cowards." They moved deeper into the station. Then the first trap activated. The floor beneath them opened and 3 warriors fell into a pit filled with sharp metal spikes. Before the others could react, the ceiling panels exploded and heavy gas filled the corridor. The Valorians could not breathe. They stumbled and fell. By the time they reached clean air, 8 more warriors were dead. Keth was furious. They fight without honor. They use tricks like animals. But the tricks did not stop. Lieutenant Kim Taiho watched the Valorians on his screens. He sat in a hidden control room deep inside the station. He had spent months preparing these traps. Every corridor had something different: explosive panels, poison gas, floors that became electric, walls that crushed anything between them. The station was a maze of death. "They are in Section 4, Taiho said into his comm. "Sergeant Cho, are your teams ready?" Sergeant Cho Minho answered from his position. "Ready, we will hit them from behind." Minho was a ground forces soldier, but he had trained for space combat too. He was big and strong, with a scar across his face from an old training accident. He never smiled, but his soldiers trusted him completely. He had never left anyone behind. His team moved through the maintenance tunnels. They wore light armor and carried human weapons. Guns that fired metal bullets, grenades, knives, simple things, old things. But sometimes old things worked best. They came out behind the Valorians and opened fire. The Valorian armor was strong. It could stop energy weapons from most species, but human bullets were different. They were small and fast and hit with tremendous force. The first volley killed 6 warriors before they could turn around. Keth spun and saw the humans. They were small compared to his warriors. Their armor was thin, their weapons looked primitive, but his warriors were falling. "Attack!" he roared. The Valorians charged. They were faster than humans, stronger than humans. In direct combat, they should win easily. But the humans did not stay for direct combat. Minho and his team retreated into the tunnels. The Valorians followed. The tunnels were narrow, the Valorians had to go single file. And in single file, their numbers meant nothing. Private Beak Suri was the last one in Minho's team. She was only 22 years old, the youngest soldier on the station. She had joined the military to pay for school. She had never expected to fight aliens. Her hands were shaking, but she kept moving. The Valorians were close behind them. She could hear their heavy footsteps. She could hear their angry voices. "They are too close," she shouted. Minho looked back. She was right. The Valorians would catch them before they reached the safe room. Someone had to slow them down. Suri saw the look on his face. She knew what he was thinking. "I will do it," she said. "No, you are too young. I will. There is no time." Suri pushed him forward. "Go, I will catch up." She turned and ran back toward the Valorians. She found a junction where 3 tunnels met. She took her grenades and placed them on the walls. Then she waited. The first Valorian came around the corner. He was huge, almost 3 meters tall. His red armor was covered in the blood of her friends. He saw her and smiled. "Little human," he said. "Alone and afraid, this is why your species will fall." Suri pressed the trigger. The grenades exploded. The tunnel collapsed. Tons of metal and rock fell on the Valorians. The warrior who had spoken to her was crushed instantly. So were the 5 behind him? Suri was thrown backward by the blast. Her ears were ringing. Her arm was broken, but she was alive. The tunnel was blocked. The Valorians could not follow. She smiled through her pain. Not so little now. On the other orbital stations, the same story was happening. The humans did not fight fair. They did not stand and die with honor. They used every trick, every trap, every dirty tactic they could imagine. They ambushed the Valorians. They led them into dead ends. They blew up their own stations to kill the invaders. War Marshal Keth lost 50 warriors in the first hour. 50 of the Crimson Guard, the strongest fighters in the galaxy. He had lost more in 1 hour than he had lost in his entire career. He retreated to his ship and contacted High Commander Relos. "The humans fight without honor," he reported. "They use traps and ambush. They refuse direct combat. We need more warriors." Relos was surprised. He had expected victory by now. "How many did you lose?" Keth hesitated. 50. There was a long silence. 50, Relos repeated. "Against primitives. They are not what we expected. They are creative. They adapt quickly. They do not fear death," Relos thought for a moment. "I will send 2,000 more warriors. End this quickly, Keth. The Dominion is watching. Do not fail me." "I will not fail," Keth said. But for the first time in his life, he was not certain. On Station 7, Captain Gina gathered her surviving defenders. They had lost 20 soldiers, but they had killed over 30 Valorians. It was a victory. "They will come back with more," she told her people. "We hurt them today, but the real fight is just beginning." Lieutenant Taiho stood beside her. "They do not understand us. They think honor means fighting the same way every time. We think honor means protecting our home by any means necessary." Gina nodded. "And that is why we will win." She looked out the window at the stars. The Valorian ships were regrouping. More were coming. The war would get worse before it got better. Many more would die, but for the first time, she believed they had a chance. Private Suri was brought to the medical bay. Her arm was in a cast. Her face was bruised. But she was smiling. Minho came to see her. "You did well, Private. That was very brave." "Or very stupid," she said. "Sometimes they are the same thing." He almost smiled, almost. "Rest now. We will need you again soon." Suri closed her eyes. She had been terrified. She was still terrified, but she had fought anyway. That was what humans did. They were afraid, and they fought anyway. That was something the Valorians would never understand. 2,000 Valorian warriors arrived 3 days later. They came in massive transport ships that blocked out the sun. High Commander Relos himself gave them their orders. The humans are clever, he told them. They use tricks and traps? But tricks will not save them from overwhelming force. Burn their stations. Land on their planet. Crush them completely. Leave nothing standing. The warriors cheered. They were eager to avenge their fallen brothers. They would show these humans what true power looked like. War Marshal Keth led the assault again. He had learned from his mistakes. This time he did not send his warriors into the stations. He simply destroyed the stations from space. His ships fired their weapons and turned the orbital platforms into burning wreckage. Captain Park Gina barely escaped. She and her surviving crew took shuttles and flew down to Earth. Lieutenant Kim Tae-ho was injured in the evacuation. Shrapnel had hit his leg, but he refused to stop working. He limped to the command center in Seoul and started coordinating the ground defense. "They are landing," he reported to Gina. 12 sites across the planet. They are spreading out to conquer quickly. Gina looked at the map. The Valorians were landing in North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. They thought they could take the whole planet at once. That was a mistake. "Good," she said. "Let them spread out. We will hit them everywhere." Dr. Lee Yuna had been studying the Valorians for weeks. She had learned many things about them. They were physically superior to humans in every way. But they had weaknesses. Their officers control everything, she explained to the War Council. The regular warriors do not think for themselves. If we kill the officers, the others become confused. They do not know what to do. How do we find the officers? Gina asked. Their armor is different. It has gold markings. Target the gold. Gina smiled. All units, new orders. Target the gold armor first. Kill their leaders. Make them blind. The ground war began. Sergeant Cho Minho commanded the defense of Seoul. The city had been evacuated. 10 million people had fled to underground shelters. The streets were empty except for soldiers. The Valorians landed in the Han River and marched toward the city center. They walked in perfect formation. Their red armor gleamed in the sunlight. They looked like an army of giants. Minho watched them from a building. He had 300 soldiers. The Valorians had 500. But Minho knew the city. He knew every street, every building, every tunnel. The Valorians did not. Hold fire, he said into his come. Let them come deeper. The Valorians marched into the city. They saw no one. The streets were quiet. They thought the humans had fled in fear. Then the buildings exploded. Minho had placed bombs in every structure, along the main road. When the Valorians reached the center of the trap, he pressed the button. 20 buildings fell at once. Steel and concrete buried hundreds of warriors. Dust filled the air. The Valorians could not see. Now! Minho shouted, "Attack!" His soldiers came from everywhere. They fired from windows and rooftops. They threw grenades from the subway tunnels below. They attacked and retreated, attacked and retreated. They never stayed in one place long enough for the Valorians to hit back. Private Beek Suri was with Minho. Her arm had healed, but she was not the same person she had been before. She was harder now, colder. She had killed 20 Valorians in the orbital station battle. She would kill more today. She saw a Valorian officer with gold markings on his armor. He was shouting orders, trying to organize his confused warriors. Suri aimed her rifle and fired 3 times. The officer fell dead. "I got one," she shouted. "Good," Minho said. "Get more." Across the planet, the same scenes repeated. In New York, humans collapsed the subway tunnels under the Valorian army. In London, they flooded the streets with water from the Thames. In Sydney, they lured the Valorians into the outback and destroyed their supplies. Everywhere, humans used their knowledge of their home to fight back. The Valorians were not prepared for this. They had conquered many worlds, but every world had fought the same way. Line up armies. Fight in the open. Die with honor. Humans did not do that. Humans fought like ghosts. They appeared and disappeared. They hit and ran. They were impossible to pin down. War Marshal Keth landed in Beijing to take personal command. He was furious. His warriors were dying by the hundreds. This was not how war was supposed to work. Find their leaders, he ordered. Capture them. We will make them surrender. His warriors searched the city, but they found nothing. The human commanders were hidden in bunkers deep underground. They controlled the battle from safety while their soldiers died above. Keth thought this was cowardly. But it was also effective. Lieutenant Taiho contacted Gina from his command center. I have developed something new, he said. A virus for their communication systems? If we upload it to their ships, they will not be able to talk to each other. Do it, Gina said. Taiho led a small team to the nearest Valorian landing site. They wore captured Valorian armor and walked right into the enemy camp. The Valorians did not recognize them until it was too late. Taiho uploaded the virus and ran. The Valorians chased him. They were faster. They caught up. Go! Taiho shouted to his team. I will hold them. He turned and fought. He killed 3 Valorians before they overwhelmed him. They beat him badly and left him for dead, but the virus worked. The Valorian communication network went dark. Ships could not talk to ground forces. Officers could not talk to warriors. The entire army became deaf and blind. The humans attacked immediately. Without coordination, the Valorians were easy targets. They fell back in disorder. They retreated to their ships and tried to regroup. In orbit, High Commander Relos watched in disbelief. He had sent 2,500 warriors to conquer a primitive planet. He had lost 1,700 of them in 2 weeks. This is impossible, he said. How are they doing this? His advisor spoke carefully. The humans do not fight for conquest or glory. They fight for survival. There is nothing more dangerous than a species fighting for its home. Relos was quiet for a long time. He had never considered this. The Dominion always fought for expansion. They conquered because it was their nature. They had never met a species that fought with such desperation. Send a message to the homeworld, Relos said finally. Tell them to prepare the full fleet. If we cannot conquer this planet with 2,000 warriors, we will conquer it with 10,000. He looked at the blue planet below. He had underestimated the humans once. He would not do it again. On Earth, Gina visited Taiho in the hospital. He was alive but badly hurt. His leg was broken in 3 places. His face was swollen and bruised. But he was smiling. The virus worked, he said weakly. We hurt them. Gina held his hand. You did well, old friend. Rest now? She walked outside and looked at the sky. More Valorian ships were coming. She could see them in the distance, black shapes against the stars. The war was far from over, but they had survived this long. They would survive longer. She thought of all the humans who had died. Soldiers and civilians, young and old. They had given everything to protect their world. She would not let their sacrifice be wasted. We are still here, she said to the stars, and we are not going anywhere. High Commander Relos came to Earth with 10,000 warriors. It was the largest invasion force the Valorian Dominion had ever assembled against a single planet. 50 warships darkened the sky. Transports carried enough soldiers to conquer 10 worlds. This time, there would be no mistakes. Destroy everything, Relos commanded. Burn their cities. Kill their people. Leave nothing but ash. The fleet moved into position. The ships aimed their weapons at the major cities of Earth. In 1 hour, they would fire. In 1 hour, human civilization would end. Captain Park Gina stood in the last command center. A bunker deep beneath the mountains of Korea. She had been promoted to admiral after the last battle, but the title meant nothing now. Half of Earth's military was dead. Most of their weapons were gone. They had nothing left to fight with, but they had not surrendered. All units, she said into the com. This is Admiral Park. The enemy fleet will fire in 1 hour. We cannot stop them from orbit, but we can make them pay for every inch of our planet. Fight to the last. Make them remember us. Sergeant Cho Minho was in the ruins of Seoul. His unit had been reduced to 50 soldiers. They were tired, hungry, and wounded. But they were still fighting. "You heard the Admiral," he told his people. "We do not stop. We do not surrender. We are human. We fight until the end." Private Beak Suri stood beside him. She was not afraid anymore. She had seen too much death to be afraid. She had lost friends. She had killed enemies. She was no longer the young girl who had joined the military to pay for school. She was a warrior now. "They think they have won?" she said. "Let us show them they are wrong." Dr. Lee Yuna was still in her lab on the moon. The Valorians had not attacked the moon yet. They did not consider it important. That was another mistake. She contacted Gina with a desperate plan. "I can broadcast a message to the entire Valorian fleet. In their own language. I can tell them the truth about what has happened here." "What truth?" Gina asked. "That their undefeated military has lost 8,000 warriors to a species they called primitive. That their legends are lies. That they can be beaten." Gina thought about it. "Do it. Maybe it will not stop them, but it will hurt them. And sometimes that is enough." War Marshal Keth prepared his warriors for the final assault. He would lead them personally. He would find the human commanders and kill them himself. He would restore his honor, but something was wrong. He could feel it. His warriors were quiet. They were not singing their war songs. They were not eager for battle. They were afraid. He called his officers together. "What is wrong with the warriors?" One officer spoke hesitantly. "They have heard stories, War Marshal. Stories about humans who do not die easily. About traps that kill without warning. About warriors who went into the human stations and never came out. They are saying this planet is cursed." Keth struck the officer across the face. "There are no curses. There is only war. We are the Crimson Guard. We do not fear anything." But he could see the doubt in their eyes. For the first time in 10,000 years, Valorian warriors were afraid of their enemy. The final battle began at dawn. Keth led his warriors toward the mountain bunker where the human commanders were hiding. They marched through the ruined streets of the city. They stepped over the bodies of humans and Valorians alike. The ground was red with blood. Minho and his soldiers met them at the foot of the mountain. 50 humans against 5,000 Valorians. It should have been a slaughter. It was not. The humans had prepared the mountain. Every path was mined. Every cliff was rigged to collapse. Every cave was a trap. The Valorians advanced slowly, losing warriors with every step. They climbed over the bodies of their dead and kept going. Minho fought at the front. He killed so many Valorians that his rifle ran out of ammunition. He picked up a Valorian blade and kept fighting. He was cut and bleeding, but he did not stop. Suri fought beside him. She had become one of the best soldiers in the unit. She moved fast and struck hard. The Valorians had trouble hitting her. She seemed to be everywhere at once, but there were too many enemies. The humans fell back, and fell back again. And again, inside the bunker, Gina watched the battle on her screens. She saw her soldiers dying. She saw the Valorians getting closer. She had to make a choice. Lieutenant Kim Taiho was beside her. He had left the hospital against orders. His leg was in a metal brace. He could barely walk. But he would not stay in bed while his friends were fighting. "The main defense grid is still active," he said. "I can overload it. Create an explosion that will destroy their flagship." "That would kill you," Gina said. Yes, she looked at him. They had known each other for 15 years. He was her best friend. He was like a brother to her. "There has to be another way," she said. "There is not." He smiled sadly. "Let me do this, Gina. Let me save our people." She wanted to argue. She wanted to find another option. But there was no time. The Valorians were at the door. She hugged him. "Thank you. For everything. Win this war," he said. "That is all the thanks I need." He limped to the control room and started working. His fingers flew over the keyboard. The defense grid powered up. Energy built and built. Outside, the Valorians broke through the final door. Keth led them into the bunker. He was going to find the human commander and kill her personally. He found Gina waiting for him in the main hall. She was alone. She held a broken piece of metal in her hand like a sword. Keth laughed. This is the famous human commander? A small woman with a piece of scrap? I am Admiral Park Gina of Earth, she said. And you are in my home. He attacked. He was faster than her, stronger than her. He hit her again and again. She fell to the ground, bleeding from a dozen wounds, but she got back up. He hit her again. She got up again. He broke her arm. She switched the metal to her other hand. Why do you not stay down? He shouted. Why do you not die? Because I am human, she said. And we do not quit. She lunged at him. He raised his weapon to block, but she was not aiming for his body. She was aiming for the gap in his armor, under his arm. The metal went through. Keth looked down at the wound. He could not believe it. He had fought in 47 wars. He had never been touched. Impossible, he whispered. No, Gina said. Just human. He fell dead at that moment. Taiho activated the grid. The explosion lit up the sky. It destroyed the Valorian flagship and 3 other ships. Thousands of warriors died in an instant. Taiho died with them. Suri found Gina in the bunker. The admiral was badly hurt but alive. Suri carried her outside just as the mountain collapsed behind them. High Commander Relos watched from his ship. His flagship was gone. His best warriors were dead. The human planet was still not conquered. He had lost. Retreat, he ordered. All ships retreat. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Valorian Dominion fled from a battlefield, on Earth. The surviving humans watched the ships leave. They were too tired to cheer. They had lost too many friends. But they had won. Gina looked at the sky where Taiho had died. She would honor him. She would honor all of them. We are still here, she said. We are still standing. And that was everything. High Commander Relos returned to the Valorian homeworld with 847 warriors. He had taken 12,500 to conquer. Earth, the rest were dead. The council chamber was silent when he gave his report. The elders could not believe what they were hearing. For 10,000 years, the Dominion had never lost a war. Now they had been humiliated by a species they had called primitive. How is this possible? Council Elder Mora asked. How did they defeat our strongest warriors? Relos stood before them, broken and ashamed. They did not fight like any species we have faced. They used tricks and traps. They refused direct combat. They sacrificed themselves to hurt us. They never surrendered, never retreated, never stopped fighting. Even when they were losing, they kept going. Why? Another elder asked. Why would they fight so hard? Because it is their home, Relos said. They were not fighting for conquest or glory. They were fighting for their families, their children, their future. There's nothing more dangerous than that. The chamber was quiet for a long time. Mora spoke again. Then we must make peace. We cannot afford another war like this. Peace? Relos was shocked. The Dominion does not make peace. We conquer. That is our way. Our way has failed, Mora said. We lost more warriors on one small planet than we lost in the last 5 wars combined. If we fight the humans again, we might lose everything. The elders debated for many hours. Some wanted to send the entire fleet and burn Earth to nothing. Some wanted to forget the humans existed and never return. In the end, they chose the path Mora suggested. They would make peace. A message was sent to Earth, the Valorian Dominion, requested negotiations. Admiral Park Gina received the message in her hospital bed. She had almost died from her wounds. The doctors had saved her, but she would never fully recover. She would walk with a limp for the rest of her life. She smiled when she read the message. They want to talk. That means they are afraid. Sergeant Cho Minho was with her. He had survived the final battle, though he had lost 3 fingers on his left hand. He did not smile. He never smiled. Can we trust them? He asked. No, Gina said. But we will talk anyway. We have hurt them enough. Now we must make sure they never come back. Private Beak Suri was promoted to lieutenant after the war. She had killed more Valorians than anyone in her unit. She was a hero, but she did not feel like one. "We lost so many people," she said. "Lieutenant Kim, the soldiers in Seoul, everyone." Gina put her hand on Suri's shoulder. "That is why we must make this peace work." So they did not die for nothing. The negotiations took place on the moon in Dr. Lee Yuna's laboratory. It was neutral ground. The Valorians sent Council Elder Mora, Earth sent Admiral Park Gina. They sat across from each other at a metal table. Two species that had tried to destroy each other. Now they were trying to talk. Gina brought something with her. A small bag. She placed it on the table and opened it. Inside were thousands of small metal tags, each one with a name on it. "These are the names of every human who died fighting your people," she said. "Soldiers and civilians, old and young. They died protecting their home." Mora looked at the tags. "There were so many. We have our own dead to mourn." "I know," Gina said. "That is why we are here. So there will be no more tags. No more names." They talked for 3 days. They argued. They shouted. They threatened. But in the end, they reached an agreement. The Valorian Dominion would never attack Earth again. In return, humans would not seek revenge. The two species would leave each other alone. It was not friendship. It was not trust. But it was peace. Before she left, Mora asked Gina a question. "I need to understand something. Your species is young. You are not as strong as us or as fast. Your technology is primitive. How did you defeat us?" Gina thought about the question. She thought about Taiho, who had sacrificed himself to destroy the flagship. She thought about Minho, who had fought with a sword when his rifle ran out of ammunition. She thought about Suri, who had collapsed a tunnel on herself to stop the enemy. "We fight for each other," she said. "That is all. When a human is in danger, other humans will do anything to save them. We will lie. We will cheat. We will die. There is no honor in our fighting. There is only love." Mora did not understand. Love was not a concept Valorians used in war, but she could see that it was powerful. "I will tell my people," she said. "I will tell them what you are." "Good," Gina said. "Tell everyone. Tell the whole galaxy. We want them to know." Mora left. The Valorian ships departed from the solar system and did not return. Earth began to rebuild. The cities were destroyed, but the people were alive. They started over. They built new homes, new schools, new hospitals. They remembered the ones they had lost, and they kept going. Admiral Gina retired from the military. She had given enough. She spent her days in a small house by the ocean, looking at the waves and thinking about her friends. Lieutenant Suri became the new commander of Earth's defense forces. She was young, but she had seen more combat than anyone else alive. She trained a new generation of soldiers. She taught them how to fight like humans. Sergeant Minho was her second in command. He still did not smile. But sometimes when he looked at the young soldiers training, there was something soft in his eyes. The story of the war spread across the galaxy. Other species heard what had happened to the Valorian Dominion. They heard about the traps and the tricks. They heard about the humans who refused to die. They heard about a small blue planet that had broken the mightiest army in the cosmos, some species thought. About invading Earth, they looked at the planet's resources and its strategic location. They considered sending their own fleets. Then they remembered what had happened to the Valorians on a distant world. A young alien child asked their parent about the small blue planet on the star map. The child wanted to know why their empire did not conquer it. It looked weak. It looked easy. The parent looked at the child with serious eyes. They told the child the story of the Valorian War. They told them about the Crimson Guard, the strongest warriors in the galaxy who had marched into the human stations and never returned. They told them about War Marshal Keth, who had never lost a battle in his life, who died with a piece of scrap metal in his chest. But why? The child asked. Why did they lose? The parent was quiet for a moment. Then they said the words that would be repeated across the galaxy for generations. The words that would keep Earth safe forever. We sent our strongest against the humans. Not one returned? The child looked at the blue planet on the map. It did not look dangerous. It did not look powerful. But the child knew they would never go there. No one would. Some worlds were not meant to be conquered. And Earth was one of them.